Hello, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and start. This is our annual meeting, and as you can see, the Historical Society has done this 49 times. This is our chance as a board to tell you everything that we've done as an organization over the past year, and to also share with you what our plans are for next year. So it's going to be an exciting meeting. We have all these celebrities up here. Someone will sing, someone will dance, but fortunately, I will do neither. Okay. First off, a thank you to John Field and Cheryl Jaskey for setting up. John was up here this morning at 9 or 10 a.m. scraping corrosion off the battery terminal so our generator would work. So we were going to go on, rain or shine, power or none, because thanks to Ed and his foresight, we have a backup generator here. Okay. And let me remind everyone, as I do every meeting, our mission, very simple. It's preserving the island history, it's presenting it to everyone, and it's engaging the island community. So with that said, let me call this meeting to order. I don't have my gavel with me, but the 49th annual meeting of the Anderson Island Historical Society will now come to order. And this is our agenda. We'll do the call to order, the welcome, verification of quorum. We'll approve last year's annual meeting minutes. We'll have reports from officers and directors, and everyone here will get to report on their particular activities. We have 9 board members, and you'll be able to understand the depth and breadth of things that we do in this organization. It's very impressive. Then, and that'll take us up a little past 8 o'clock. Then we'll very quickly zip through our mission again, our vision. Let me do the official way to do this. Then we're going to elect officers and directors. We have 4 officers and directors whose terms are expiring or who are stepping down, and we're going to be electing replacements. We'll close the business meeting. Then I'll present the President's Award, this year's winner of the Lamborghini. Except last year's winner, Jim has to give it up. He has to give up the Lamborghini. Announcements, coming events, and then we'll do a Q&A and feedback for anyone who has questions for us. Excuse me? All right. So, verification of quorum. Oh, Dave usually does that.
Hello. I'm the secretary, and one of my tasks is the verification of quorum when we meet on a monthly basis, which for us is 5 individuals. And so I have eyes on the right of me and the left of me, and I can verify that, yes, indeed, we do have a minimum of 5 board members to vote.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself, and it occurs to me we really should just go through the list here, and everyone can introduce themselves and their position. So we'll start. I'm going to hand the microphone down and just remind people who you are and
who I are.
what you're doing here.
Oh, Ed Stevenson. I've been here too long already, so I'm going to pass it on to Peggy. I have 2 jobs. One is the past president, which we'll talk about later, and the other is manager of this building, and John keeps me straight on that.
Peggy Hodge, Director of Education.
Dave Durrett again, secretary.
Okay. You guys have your own microphone, though it has to be turned up. Is it on? Like technical support will help you out here. All right. Yep, it works.
Oh, so everybody heard what Wayne said? Good enough? I'm Rick Anderson. I'm the Archives Director.
I'm Penny Wilson. I'm the Public Information Officer.
And I'm Wendy Lessard, and I do events.
All right, thanks, everyone. Now, approval of the annual meeting minutes. I was going to print off copies for everyone here, but unfortunately, the power outage got in the way of that. But I did send meetings minutes out to the board. I got some comments back from Peggy, which I incorporated. Are there any other comments from anyone on the board? Okay. Then hearing none, the minutes will be approved. All our minutes, including the annual meeting minutes and every monthly board meeting minute, are available on our website. So you just go to andersonislandhistory.org, click on documents, and you'll see all our documents, and one of the categories is minutes. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, you can look at those and it'll help you out. All right. The next thing is our officer and director reports. And each one of us is going to talk about our 2023 accomplishments and our 2024 goals. And we just went through the list. I suppose I should have had this list up when we walked through. Not present here today were Todd, who's our treasurer, and Carol, who's our vice president. I think everyone else was here today. All right, so President's report. So I said this last year, and I still believe it. We're really in the golden age of the Historical Society. If you take a look at, we have a great team. We have great facilities, thanks to the people that had the foresight to put this building together. And really, thanks go to Ed, they go to Rick, and they go to Dave McGoldrick for pulling things together to make this building a reality. But these facilities have become a focal point for the community. We've had almost 300 classes and events in this building and in the grounds as a whole. That's pretty amazing. Our community fundraising events this year raised over $38,000. Our salmon bake served over 800 salmon and rib meals, not counting the 100 hot dog meals. Our silent auction raised $15,831, the most ever. We have 248 members, pretty healthy amounts, down a little bit from last year. And financially, we're in really good shape. We have over $200,000 in reserve, including some funds earmarked for the bandstand. Facilities-wise, we've upgraded every facility on the farm this year. The farm buildings, the grounds, the greenhouse, the annex, the bandstand, this building, the gardens, the gift shop, and a new reader board out front. We've upgraded all our displays, and visitor engagement-wise, the gift shop was open every weekend from April, and this building and the farmhouse were open and staffed every weekend in the summer. We had almost 1,000 visitors go through here. So we're really very proud of how we've fulfilled our mission this year for the community. Next year, simple goals, basically keep doing the same thing but do it better. We'll continue our tradition of great community events. We'll move in the direction of the 2025 vision, and we'll cover that very quickly at the end. We'll enhance the content and the usefulness of all the buildings. We're adding a roof to the bandstand. We'll maintain fiscal health. And my personal goal is to find a successor. Next year will be my 8th year as president, and so it's time for someone to take the reins from me, someone with some new ideas. All right. I do want to say a little bit about the roof on the bandstand. I mentioned this last month at the potluck. We are going to put a roof. We're doing it really to benefit the island community. It's going to look a lot like this, not totally, but very close. The roof expands the bandstand season, provides greater certainty for our concerts, provides protection for our musicians, but more importantly for their instruments and the electronics. It gives us a covered picnic shelter for things like the salmon bake. And it gives us a covered outdoor venue for things like parties and weddings and plays. Maybe the Anderson Island Players will make an appearance next year. We hope it'll last for 50 years, so it's going to benefit the island for a long time. We budgeted $30,000. It's going to come in under that. That's all covered by a donation from a benefactor, as well as a nice donation from our supplier. Status-wise, our drawings, our engineered drawings are complete. We've started the permit process. It's going to be built by our quality team of skilled AIHS volunteers and some unskilled ones like me. And we'll start the construction probably in January or February. We're saving it for the best months of the year, and we should be done by May. It's a fairly straightforward structure, as you can see. A few words about the bandstand, because we do occasionally get pushback about the roof. Your board here, made up of very frugal people, has spent the last 5 years poring over designs for the bandstand. We voted in favor of going forward the last 3 years. Each year we sort of stopped because the bandstand roof was too small, or it was too big, or it was too high, or it was too low, or it stood out too much, or it didn't blend in enough. So finally, each time we stopped, the price went up. So finally, we decided to go forward with the idea that doing something is much better than doing nothing. And so you'll see this shaping up next year. If you're unhappy with the end design here, I'm really sorry, but I think we'll all benefit from it. Okay, Todd. I thought Todd was in Hawaii, but I was told he's in France. Does anyone know? He's at a wedding, I know that, and just to stop any rumors, it's not Todd's wedding. He's not here, he's at a wedding, so I'll pretend he's in Hawaii. So I'm going to do his part here, so bear with me. This is our financial statement for this year through October, plus the gift shop that we usually don't roll into our financials until December. But you can see our total gross income this year, $71,578. That's pretty good. We get $10,000 from the gift shop, $5,000 from contributions and gifts and memberships. We had a couple of weddings in here. Program services, I believe, things like the garden market. Our biggest contribution is events like the Salmon Bake and Farm Day. There's $50,000 that came in. That's not net, that's our total input. Some money from investments, money from rentals, and that gives us our total gross. Then our expenses, we have $11,000 some dollars in what we call administrative, which is things like insurance and miscellaneous charges. Public information, which is publicity basically, is $2,500. Operations and facilities is sort of the bulk of our expenses. That's not only utilities, but it's also everything we do to keep the farm looking great. And then archives and education covers our displays. And finally, our expenses for events, $11,000 some, which is mostly food. That's the cost for the food for the events. So our total operating expenses is $43,449. That gives us a net operating income of $23,000. And out of that, we took $13,000 for capital expenses. And I'll show you what those are in a minute. So our net income for the year was $14,981. Our balance sheet is very strong. You can see our liquid assets, $201,927. So those are our bank accounts and some funds that are earmarked for the bandstand. It's a little hard to wrap your head around these numbers. They're just like numbers, right? So I like to show these fancy charts because they kind of give you a better feel for what's really happening here. These are net numbers, so for events, we've subtracted out the cost of the event. So you can see our total net income for this year is about $60,000. And the bulk of that comes from the silent auction and the salmon bake, 44%. The gift shop, 17%, and then the plant sale and garden markets, they did very well this year with 13%. Then comes farm day, contributions, membership, the apple squeeze, and then a whole bunch of smaller things. So that's kind of where our money comes from. And if you take a look at where that money goes, these are the non-capital expenses. So we spend about $30,000. I like to say it costs $100 a day to run the farm, but it's really a little less. It's about $83 a day. The biggest piece of that, a third, 34%, goes to insurance. So we're paying over $10,000 a year in insurance, and it goes up every year. A quarter of our expenses is just utilities. That's essentially electricity and internet. And then 26% goes to maintenance, and maintenance is all the money that Wayne spends in operations on keeping up the farm. I don't know what he's going to do when he can't spend all that money next year. Then events, displays, publicity, and admin. So that gives you an idea of where our money goes. This year, capital expenditures, this is the stuff we spent money on that that you can touch and feel, I guess. Some money on the greenhouse. We enlarged the bandstand. We bought a well pump. We improved the sound system in this building. We put a reader board out front here, a rabbit fence to keep all the rabbits in the gardens, and the antique apples. Yeah, the fence is supposed to keep the rabbits out, but so that was the $13,000 this year. Then we have a budget for next year. Our budget for next year is very close to our expenditures for this year. So every year in October, we put a budget together. All the directors put in requests of what they'd like to spend money on. And Todd and Carol put that budget together, and we make sure we have money to cover it. So our budget for 2024, $71,700, a bit more than this year. But we're also projecting operating expenses of $67,000. That gives us a net operating income, projected income on the budget of $4,600. We're also projecting a lot of capital expenses next year, and that's stuff that we spend money on, right? And you can see it here. The big thing is the bandstand roof, where we have $30,000 in here. Also, we want to replace the cold room compressor, upgrade security, upgrade the video system in here, and add a heat pump to Coop 2. So that's really a rundown of our financials. Now, while I'm up here, Carol also can't be here. She, unfortunately, is not in Hawaii or wherever Todd is. She's at home in bed. So I'm going to give her a report for her. Carol's responsible for insurance. She's worked with an organization, a company, that puts together insurance packages specifically for nonprofits like this. So they pool a whole bunch of nonprofits put them all together in a big risk pool, and that cuts our premiums. So you may think 10,000 a year is outrageously high, but it's really very reasonable considering our risk exposure here. Carol works with Todd on the budget, also the tax return. Our tax return is something like 20 pages. Even though we don't owe any taxes ever, or we don't pay them, we still have to file a 20-page return. And Carol, you folks may know, is a former CPA, so she really enjoys doing that. Carol's also kind of taken over the gardens, and she's really organized them. We have a greenhouse group that Val is in charge of. We have a garden market. Larry Gramling is going to be leading the garden market next year. We have a plot out here that we call the Market Garden that supplies the garden market. Sue is leading that. We have 40 community gardens, and we have 4 garden coordinators. Remember, we used to have Sue Hughesby, but we replaced Sue with 4 people. And that's Kathy Gadbois, Lori Opsel, Larry Gramling, and Jimmy Ning. And then we have a group that does the ornamental landscaping around the building here. And you'll see them working out here every Wednesday morning. 2024, Carol says more use of the greenhouse and also more classes and talks. Also, for gardeners, they've implemented a 6-hour-a-year volunteer requirement. So anyone who's a gardener is now required to volunteer and do good stuff for the farm for 6 hours each year. Okay, now it's a gift shop.
My co-manager said no. Okay, so I'm Virginia Cummings, and Leslie and I are the co-managers of the gift shop. We have been for, 3 or 4 years now? So basically, I'm going to give a kind of a accounting of the gift shop, and then she'll take over for our tasks and our accomplishments. So this year, for this time, January through October, we're running our sales are about $42,300, and that is about $900 more than last year, and that's even more than the year before that. So as we came out of COVID and Leslie and I took over, we've done quite a bit. Our sales have already always constantly gone up. So, and even with our new POS system that we had to put in again after only 2 years of the old system, the new one, we're still working out the bugs on it. So my accounting isn't quite up to date because we're still working on it. Anyhow, I'll turn it over to Leslie now.
That was quick.
I know. We only get 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Between us, I get a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, well, pretty much what you see up there is what we managed to accomplish this year. We did get new lighting in the gift shop, and it's very, very noticeable. It's a lot brighter and cheerier in there, and people do notice. The reader board on Nelson's Corner, which is the grocery store corner, got propped back up, got straightened up for us. The phone book was completed in the first week of May. Our goal was April, but that's a goal for this year again. We got the new POS system installed, and I wanted to thank Bob for the hours and hours that he spent searching for a good match for us. And then Bob and Carol and Virginia spent hours and still are spending hours and hours trying to get it to work well. We hired a bookkeeper to try and take the load off of Virginia, and that's still a work in progress. We did get about 14 cases of books, thank you, Wayne, out of our storeroom so that it would give us a little more storage space for inventory. We also got 4 new consigners in the gift shop, something we're always looking for. So our goals for this coming year will be, unfortunately, a new alarm system to replace the 25-year-old alarm system that has now gone haywire this past couple of weeks. It went off and would not go, I mean, it went off and then it wouldn't shut up. So we're always on the lookout for other consigners. We've already started on the phone book for next year. So our target date is April 1st. We would like to re-roof the reader board that we now have straightened up. Virginia and I want to paint the windows in the shop to brighten up the curbside appeal. So if you ever look at that chicken coop, they're just black windows, and we'd like to kind of spruce them up. And because it's such a challenge getting merchandise now, because everybody is going to online shopping, and online shopping is not fun because you can't see the quality, we are going to attend a gift show up in Anchorage this coming year, and maybe one other one during the year, just to see inventory in person.
Thank you.
Hi, again, Dave Durrett, Secretary. I do take the minutes for all the weekly or monthly board meetings, and at the end of every meeting, there's a pretty neat checklist of tasks that we don't want to forget. They're pretty important. One monthly one, for example, is check all the fire extinguishers, a bit important here at the farm. But in a seasonal way, we are reminded of tasks that come up, such as getting ready for the orchard, putting the orchard to bed, things like that from a monthly standpoint. And then one sort of off the rails away from the secretary is I head up the memberships. So just as a plug, if you would like to renew your membership for next year, now's a great time to do it. It'll be good until the end of 2024. And in connection to the gift shop folks, it's tax-free shopping, don't forget. So if you step into the gift shop as a member, it's a tax-free zone, which sounds really good if you ask me. So that is my update.
And you get a free book.
Oh, that's right, yes. Oh yeah, there's a free book, and I don't recall the title, Bob, do you? Thank you.
Okay, next is Ed.
As I said earlier, I have two jobs. One is past president. I've been past president for 6 or 7 years now. So 7 years I've been the past president.
Well, plus actually more than that if you consider your other terms, right? You probably have been past president for 10 years.
He's being facetious here. Anyway, past president doesn't have a lot to do. The first year after a new president takes over, the past president is supposed to clue him in as to what to do. Hello. After the first year, the past president is kind of superfluous in himself. And I'm glad this is not December, because in December you have the, Scrooge comes up with the past years, right, the ghost of Christmas past, and that would be me, I guess. Anyway, you can read this chart as well as anybody, but the primary goals that we have are primarily to maintain the archival building and the grounds around the building as good or better than they were when we built this building. And that's the main thing we're trying to do. And after 7 years, if you look around, the building is, as far as I'm concerned, about as good a condition as it was when we built it. We've added some things to make it better, hopefully, and we will continue to do that every year that we can. One of the things, we provide the facility for community functions, not like this tonight, but like John Ellis presents to us every year with his film festivals and all, which is really a great draw and a wonderful thing, John, and we really appreciate that. And in partnership with the fire department, we make this building available for island emergencies, and they have a lot of equipment, and it's set up in such a way that our building, which has basically continuous heat and cooling as necessary, they bring their equipment here and set it up, and we have an emergency facility right here that can handle a couple of hundred people. The buildings and the grounds are maintained by a dedicated crew, and Bob has mentioned John Field back here, who has set up the chairs and the tables for us for the last 2 or 3 years at least, maybe more. And Jim Battershill, I want to mention, who helps us to maintain the repairs and things like that in this building, so I just definitely wanted to mention him. One group of people that go unnoticed most of the time, along with this building, are the landscape crew. And we have, I don't know how many there are, but Jeannie McGoldrick and Mary Beth Camp, Sue Salo, Jane Gropenberger, Rita Barnes, Lori Opsel, Val Oppenheim, Lucy Jansen, Carol Pascal, Sally Buchanan, Barbara Brodaka, Melissa Anderson, and our most well-attended Andreas Anderson back there. We really appreciate all the help that these ladies and Andreas give us to keep all the landscaping around this building just absolutely marvelous. I marvel at it every time I go out there and look at it. Some of these gals I haven't even met, but usually I'm up here at the building on Wednesday mornings when they work outside, and I'm sitting in this nice warm room, and they're out there in the rain and not the snow usually. I don't see them out in the snow. But they work hard to maintain the landscaping around the building, and they've done a marvelous job. So if I missed anybody as far as the landscaping and all is concerned, let me know, because some of the people I have not met personally, and I'm sorry about that. I'll have to get out there and do that more often. Anyway, John and Jim and all of these ladies, we really appreciate the work that you've done to help us keep this building maintained, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
It is now. Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm first year handling the events, and I'll go through the slide, and then I have a bunch of people that I need to thank for their support this year as well. We have had a phenomenal year. Mother Nature really did a really nice job this year in giving us some really wonderful weather. So all of our events were really met with some wonderful sunshine, and which really led to a lot of participation. The plant sale, farm day, salmon bake, apple squeeze, garden market, as Bob mentioned, raised over $35,000. But I think more so than not, it really brought the community together. I noticed a real shift in age. So we had a really wide range from 18 to 80. And it was really wonderful to see the young families come out and really enjoy everything that everybody's done and really enjoy the farm and learn about the farm. And Peggy did a wonderful job with the scavenger hunts that were always available, and the kids were running around. It was just really joyful. The salmon bake this year served, as Bob mentioned, served over 800 meals, along with, I think, like 85 hot dog meals. It was incredible. I think one of the things that really led to that, Bob does not get enough kudos, and he really needs a lot more than he gets. He put this online link, I don't know if you guys noticed, on the Assistant, the Anderson Island Assistant app, which he also built, which allowed you to buy the tickets online, and our online sales just went off the charts. So a lot of that is is due to Bob. So I think he deserves a little round of applause here right now. The silent auction raised over $15,000, and Jill and Eileen really just were amazing in that. Silent auction was just huge. It was so fun to come in and watch everybody just looking at everything, and I think the bids were really a lot higher than a lot of people thought, which was great. The Farm and Archival buildings hosted over 300 classes this year. concerts with AI and Island Arts, along with individual bookings. We had a lot of individual bands that booked concerts as well, which was great. The AI Film Festival and the Winter Art Show was spectacular. We had 84 monthly meetings and 150 weekly activities. This building is always booming. It's wonderful. You drive by and there's always something happening. Along with all of that, we actually had 2 weddings this year. We had the Rob wedding and the Stephenson wedding, which were wonderful. And we also had 10 workshops and classes. Along with that, we also have potlucks, which Peggy puts together a wonderful array of speakers, and then John and Cheryl do an amazing job of setting up and tearing down. We had over 235 reservations on our online reservation system this year. And another thing that Bob has done, which has been a wonderful addition for me, is that when you make a reservation now, it automatically populates to the calendar. So that is it finds if there's any conflicts, which is great. Because before, we would have to manually input. So now it's automated, and it's really making the system work a lot better, which is great. My 2024 goals is, beyond keeping up the good work, is I'm going to identify more event coordinators. I am a small business owner, and my business is growing, knock on wood, or plastic. And so I am going to identify a few more event coordinators that can take on a little bit more responsibility. This was my first year, so I kind of needed to get my feet wet, needed to understand each event and the nuances and the personalities, and it was a real learning experience for me. It's been wonderful. So that's one of my things. And then I think one of the other ideas that I'm going to bring to the table is just adjusting some rental charges. I think we as an archive building can make a little bit more money on a few items that we'll discuss, and then hopefully I'll be able to talk about them next year at the annual meeting of what we did. So in closing, I just do want to take this opportunity to thank a few folks. First, I want to thank Jeannie McGoldrick for your support in passing the role to me. It meant a lot, and I really appreciate you. Secondly, John Fields, you are amazing. You have been such a support for me. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you very much. The store staff, you guys are amazing. You're so flexible with me. I mean, when I threw at you with the wedding timings and no, you got to close because they're having the reception and all of that, you guys were great, and I really appreciate you. Wayne, your support in all of the exterior setup has been amazing, and I love your directness in your needs and wants and desires, and I really appreciate you for that. Peggy and Cheryl, your support with the potlucks is just amazing, so thank you, and the community I know just absolutely adores them. And then last but not least, Dave, thank you, and Todd's not here, but thank you for all your support with your cashier and the money support, because that's huge, because you handle all of the electronics. So it really takes a village to do these events, and you can see how many players there are involved in these, and just as a family, we've just done an amazing job. So thank you all.
Thank you, Wendy. As Wendy said, this is her first year, but we're very fortunate to have her on board. She actually has a real job, which is the same job. She's a professional event coordinator, but in Hawaii. So if you can't find her here or she's not returning your phone call, it's because she's in Hawaii trying to make money to feed her family. So thank you so much, Wendy. Penny.
Oh, it's on. Okay. So my job, as while all these people are putting on all of these events and planning and organizing, I am supposed to make sure everybody knows what's happening. And so we use a lot of ways to do that. We use Facebook, every group that we can, and we have our own Facebook page. Signs. We have signs everywhere, and thanks to John, who's everywhere, by the way, John Field, the signs are all organized and labeled, and we have created a stash of reusable signs so that every year we don't have to start over with the signs. This year we added some new signs. We added all of these street signs, and we handed them out, and they are reusable. So we can populate the island with salmon and rib bake posters, and we don't have to recreate them every year. So our goal has been to organize those signs and create a series of signs that we can use over and over again so that we're not spending a lot of money, but also any group that needs a sign would say, hey, can we have a sign for volunteers? Can we have a sign for the after? Can we have a sign for, and we try to make sure that we have them and they're all in one place and everybody can find them. That was big, y'all. They were everywhere. And so we also, all of these events, there are so many of them, we try to make sure that people know that they're happening, where they're happening, when they're happening, that we can get you here. And the better job we do of having events, the more events we have, the more people come, and then the more demands there are for publicity. So it's become a bigger job because there's more to do. And so, the other thing I do is put together all the information for the sounder every month. And so everybody here sends me what they want into the sounder. I compile that and send it off so that, again, we're using every avenue that we can to make sure that you know what's happening here at the farm.
All right, thank you, Penny. Penny's one of our officers or directors that's stepping down. So I'd like to thank her for 4 years of service to us. 4 years. Okay, Wayne, you're up.
There's pictures. Okie dokie. Probably the thing that everybody, does it work?
Yes.
The thing probably most people will recognize as we rebuilt the road on the south side of the orchard. And then we took the welcome sign down before it fell down. The garden shed, which is actually right behind us out here by the greenhouse, that was put up. We finished construction of the wood shop. Now, the wood shop, those people who like to work with wood need to come down and take a look at this. We've got a lot of really good equipment down there. Thank you, Dennis Gardner. You donated an awful lot to it. We have decided that this needs to be open to the public. To work down there, you need to be a member, first of all. And then second of all, we're going to have some kind of a little certification process. We haven't figured it out yet, where Bill Hodge or Dennis Gardner will be actually saying, yes, you can work in this wood shop. But anyway, it's a good, it's an excellent thing. And then behind me, you can see the stairs and the safety railing. Now, the slide says up to the upper storage. In fact, that's the lounge. And we have 6 lazy boys and an 84-inch television coming in this year. It's in the budget, Bob. You just got to find it. As Bob said, we enlarged the stage, wired the annex. Again, thank you to Bob and Joe Howells on that. A lot of work was spent on that. It was mentioned the rabbit fence was installed. Jimmy and Lori did that. Thank you very much. And a thank you to Jerry for fixing the men's bathroom out here in what I call the commons area. Pallet rack should be in the annex by the end of the year. The rest of the time we spent just puttering around, mowing grass, maintenance on mowers, tractors, replacing fence posts. Somebody mentioned Andreas seems to be really involved. He keeps the garden trailer full this time of year. So every week we have to empty it. All right, and there are 40 gardens, so it does take quite a bit to get that emptied. We spent a lot of time setting up and taking down tents for various events and so forth. Those of you who were here the last year or two, remember the beaver. Well, the beaver is no longer. We have decided that the beaver has moved on. There's no activity down there. Evidently, what we did worked. So I would like to know, though, who gave the beaver my address, because the beaver is now in Lake Josephine and he's under my dock. Okay, what are we going to do this next year? We're going to widen the sidewalk between the gardens. We're actually going to fix that welcome sign and hang it back up. There's a filter that needs to go in the main water well line for the gardens. We need to put up some no smoking signs. We got to treat the barn with timber. New garden gates, be 7 of them. There's, 3 or 4 already been done. They look really great. Paul's the instigator on that, does a great job. And Bob said we're going to put a roof on the stage. Okay. We've got to rebuild the road again down between the south gardens and the barn. It's going to be really ruddy come spring. Again, as Bob mentioned, the heat pump goes in Lower Showroom. And I would ask everybody, when you're out driving around, if you see Ranger Tree Service or any of these other services, you might just ask them if they have any extra chips, please dump them up here. That's how we get them. Ranger's always been really good to us, and if you're taking a look, we need some. And also, if you know of somebody or you have some excess logs on your property, we'd like to have those too for our sawmill down here. That's how we get a lot of the material that we use to build build or repair various buildings on the farm. Other than that, November 22nd, there's no work party. That's right before Thanksgiving. The last work party of the year will be December 13th, and we'll start again in January 3rd. And I'd just like to say thank you, all the people who've been on these work parties. Without you, the farm wouldn't look near as good as it does. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Wayne and his crew and his team are the reason that these grounds look so amazing. They're out here every Wednesday and lots of other times too. We're so fortunate to have him and the team, and that they're so dedicated to what they do here, and they do such a good job. Wayne, unfortunately, is another one of our officers who's stepping down at the end of this year. He'll be very hard to replace, though we think we have someone that's going to do an okay job. But thank you, Wayne, for all the service you put in. It's just been amazing. Rick.
Well, let's see. You may have noticed that we have an art gallery in the McGoldrick Library. If you haven't, you should check it out. It's all island artists and all the best of the best. All the works of art, sculptures, paintings are island themed. Also, Peggy has done a fantastic job of organizing all the books we have in the library there under different categories of Washington history and Puget Sound history and that sort of thing. So check that out when you have a chance. Here in Stevenson Hall, we've added a poster of Lois Scholl, who's our founder. Bob and I put together the material for that. He printed it out and framed it. So for those of you that didn't know Lois, she was a wonderful person, and we wouldn't be here tonight probably if it weren't for Lois. Let's see, we also printed out and Bob framed and mounted 2 antique maps, 1915 Kroll Atlas maps, one Anderson Island and one of McNeil Island. And Bob made a list of all the property owners in 1915, which is posted next to it. The farmhouse is now curated by Mary Raby, and I think Lyndon Simonson and Peggy also helped her quite a bit throughout the year. She's reorganizing and rationalizing some of the displays, probably going to have to weed out some things so it's not so crowded there. You probably noticed the beautiful restoration of the Tahoma Pilot House that was done by Leanne Whitaker lovingly over the last 2 or 3 years. So that's a real awesome part of our displays. If I'm not mistaken, Leanne and Ed, maybe others, helped record some videos of people who had recollections of riding on the Tahoma. So we can look forward to some kind of a movie or trailer at least about that sometime soon. In Coop 2, Melissa continued to work on the domestic displays in there. Of course, we have the Military Museum, which is always growing and always attracts a lot of interest. Karen Carter Schwendler, yes, later. Yeah, that's in the second part. Sorry. Karen Carter Schwendler, some of you may or may not know, she works full-time now, so she's not able to be up here much, but she has taken on the lifetime work of doing research on the Brickyard. So she's coming up with biographies of the main investors, of the people that formed it, trying to track down places where the bricks from the island were used, and got all kinds of interesting articles about lawsuits and strikes and so on. So that'll be fun. The Hazel Heckman Project, most of you know about that we were given a complete collection of Hazel Heckman's papers and unpublished works, her correspondence, her books, and that sort of thing. And so we have posted a number of her short stories are already posted on our website, and her correspondence with the famous Northwest author Murray Morgan over a period of 50 years. Those letters were returned to us, so they were scanned and are also posted on our website. And they make very interesting reading, a lot of snippets of what was happening on the island in 1954 and that sort of thing. Hazel, one of her works was unpublished. She called Blackjack Country, which is the life story of her parents, basically. But it's really about her childhood, and she tried unsuccessfully to have that published over the years and failed in that. But we now have hundreds and hundreds of pages of that work with lots of revisions, which I think I've scanned finally most of that, and trying to convert it into Word files so it can be edited. I think it'll make a nice publication of some kind, either on our website or maybe we can publish it ourselves. It makes good reading. Hazel had a very interesting childhood. In May, we had the Peter Puget Reenactment Group came again. Maybe some pictures there of them camping down on the beach on Oro Bay. And members of the Historical Society were invited to that. And they may be back next year. It's a lot of fun. They have period appropriate costumes and equipment and so forth. Let's see, last year on the Antique Apple Project, we sent in 16 samples from local antique old apple trees. Only 3 of them were identified as something that they have records of, 3 antique apples. The others, they maybe just haven't identified other versions of them yet. But anyway, we just recently sent in another 12. So that's an ongoing thing. We hope to have an orchard perhaps down the hill here somewhere composed exclusively of trees that are grafted from old apples from island orchards. That's fun. Yeah, among our acquisitions, we acquired from the Heckman family a cradle that Roger Russell built for Hazel. It's a thing of beauty and a work of art. It's now in Coop 2. Sally Buchanan donated an antique clothes drying rack, which will be on display in Coop 2. We received an antique bumper jack, which is still in Coop 1, right? Yeah, we're finding a home for that. We also received 10 video cassette tapes that were recorded by Angie Wood back about 20, 25 years ago of iconic islanders such as Tom White and Viv Gordon and others, Vivian Skaggerbird. So those, we just received those recently from Natalie Bates, and those will be converted into digital files, and we'll see what we can do about if they're true, then we'll put them up on the website probably. So projects for next year, one of our most important displays, which has gone sort of unattended, I guess you could say, are these antique farm implements outside of the barn. So we're working on interpretive signs that explain exactly what they are. Hopefully each sign will have a picture of the original, say out of a catalog or something like that, so what they looked like before they got all rusty. Like to continue work on the Heckman project. There's lots of things to do with that. Mostly I'll work on this blackjack country, but there's a lot of opportunity there for someone who likes short stories and novels. There's a few other things that could be curated and edited. I would like to work on developing contacts with the local tribes in the Squally and the Steilacoom. We have quite a few artifacts of our own here, and there's a collection on the island which may someday be divided between ourselves and the tribes. And we'd like to perhaps get them to come over here and mix with us, tell us a little bit more about their history. The old brickyard research will continue. We had an agreement with Evergreen College Archaeology Department. They were going to bring out their students and do an archaeological dig there to find more about where were the buildings and what sort of things could we find there. And COVID came and it didn't happen, and now I think they've lost interest. So we'll maybe look for some other people to partner with to do that, but I think we'll be part of that project. Dick Thrum donated a bunch of artifacts from his childhood, a chemistry set and so on, so they're in a display case there that needs some work and some signage to explain what everything is. In Coop 2, there's a lot of work continuing there. Melissa's looking for some assistance, people that have expertise either in the maritime area. There's a maritime component of that museum which needs some work, and also poultry. We think it's time to get a decent interpretive display of just how they managed to have 5,000 chickens here and how that worked out. So I think that's all I have. It's a clothes mangler. You can imagine.
Okay, well, we'll talk about docents first. Very important part of any of our programs on the farm. And some of them are here tonight, and thank you very much for being here. Raise your hand if you're a docent. Come on, girls and men. None of the guys are here tonight. Okay. All right. Jeannie? Dave, you are? Okay, good. Okay, we always need more. And as you can see in the beginning there, we are now up to 26. We were at 26 last year. Well, we lose some, family matters and things like that, health, and then we gain some, and that's very exciting. We're happy that happens. We're still aiming for at least 30. So if you know somebody that you think would do a great job, mention it to them. And there's more information on our website under documents. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it doesn't. It's under docents. Talks about the responsibilities and some of the other parts of being a docent. We have a training. We have 2 trainings in the spring. We'll do that again. And as I said, hopefully for more docents. Because you know how many visitors we had this summer? And these are not people that came for events. These are visitors that came into the houses and buildings. 1,000, or at least 1,000. And it's more every year. So we need more docents every year. Docents spent 460 hours doing their job, and they do it well. We have been working to develop some tools to connect kids to history. initially for the elementary students on our island, but we always welcome classrooms from someplace else. We've had them in the past, not recently. So we thank Ted and Kathy Nussbaum for their farm scavenger hunt that we like to put on, and we change it up every time we present it. And Leanne Whitaker's I Spy. That is a big hit in our farmhouse. And if you're not familiar with it and you want to know more, you'll have to come there when we're open. And we are open from April till October. Actually, we're open until December, just like the gift shop. Now our hours are what their hours are, 12 to 4. Most visitors in 1 month was August. August is always our biggest month. And you can see up there 291 visitors just for that purpose. We had 2 field trips, one in the fall and one in the spring from the elementary school, and we do different things. In the fall, they come and pick an apple, and then we do something else. And this year, we did a tour of Coop 2, and Melissa helped us because those are interesting items in that building. If you haven't been there to see them, you'll want to see them. And the kids loved it. In the spring, they come and usually visit the farmhouse again or the barn. Last spring, we played games that were particularly used during the early 1900s when the farm was being established. We also had senior groups also. We had a Lutheran senior group from Lakewood, and then we had the Heritage League from Pierce County. Our new farmhouse curator, Mary, has some great ideas, but we want to also thank Karen Stevens and Linda Simonson, who have been so loyal to keeping that place looking good and fresh, if you can do that with a 100-year-old building, and they do it well. So there will be a spring training for docents. Keep that in mind. Also, the library in here is kind of in my bailiwick, and I've been kind of neglectful of it, but I'm going to continue to work on it, even though I am retiring. Goals for next year will pretty much continue what we have in the past, so I'm going to just let you take a peek at those. It's very important that we do what we do and that we continue to do it. And one of the things that's important for our docents is that we continue to edit the handbook and add information, especially historical information to it. So if you have something that we should add to our notebook, please let me know. All right, I think that's all I have.
Peggy is one of our officers, again, who's stepping down. And I can't stress enough what an amazing job Peggy did for docents and the whole idea of keeping the farmhouse and the archival building open and having visitors and having docents to explain things to them. When Peggy took over, we had 0 docents. And in the last 7 years, I think, she's built that up. She built it up initially to around in the teens or low 20s, and she's kept that up. And every year, the number of visitors we've had has increased. And it's just been amazing, and you made an amazing contribution. Thank you, Peggy. And that's the report of all the officers and directors. And so now we're going to move on to new business, and our new business is going to be the election of officers and directors. Again, thanks to our departing board members, Wayne, who was secretary for 3 years, and then operations chairman for 7 years, and Peggy, 7 years education, Penny, 4 years public information, and Dave, 2 years secretary. Let's give a round of applause to all these people. they've done a great job, and it's been a great team. It's just a privilege on my part to be part of it. So let's look at our elections of officers and directors for next year. I still have a year left. Carol has a year left. For secretary, we are nominating to replace Dave, Sally Buchanan. Sally, raise your hand. Almost everyone knows Sally. So she'll be taking over from Dave as secretary beginning in January. Todd is going to up for another 2-year term. He has threatened to only serve 1 year of that term, so we'll see. Todd has been treasurer since Carol resigned as treasurer in something like 2003. So he's been treasurer for like 20 years. Yeah, it's hard to believe he could be replaced, right? Fortunately, he's not here tonight to decline nomination, so we do nominate Todd. Operations director, it's pretty much impossible to replace Wayne, but we found someone who we think can do the job and do a great job, and that's Jim Badishill. Yeah. Jim was got the President's Award last year just for being everywhere, and I had a set of pictures I showed of Jim doing pretty much every job on the farm at some point or another. The crew actually, the volunteer crew, the work party actually sort of voted for Jim to be their next leader. That's how much faith they have in him. And to replace Penny, in public information, we're nominating John Fields. John is in the back. John is the fellow that sets things up, but he also is the person that does the Facebook posts, and he does the reader board, so he's kind of halfway there in terms of publicity. He'll do a great job for us. And because he's always setting things up and taking them down, he knows what all the events are. So he's a step ahead of all of us in that regard. And then finally, Peggy is stepping down. As you know, it's going to be very hard to replace her, but we have someone who we think will do a wonderful job, and that's Leanne Whitaker. So Leanne, raise your hand. Leanne, fresh off of restoring the Tahoma Wheelhouse, I think many of you know Leanne is the one who organizes the parade, the Island Parade. Every year, Leanne has organized that the last 2 or 3 years, maybe more? 3, okay. Leanne is a docent, so she'll be stepping into the role. Peggy will be here to help, and so that'll be, I think, a great transition. Okay, so before we vote for these, are there any additional nominations from the floor? Okay, so rather than voting for each one, what I want to do is just vote for the whole candidate slate as a whole, kind of like voting for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So all those in favor of electing these nominated people for officers and directors in 2024, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, all members get to vote. Anyone, all opposed? Anyone? All right, so you folks are elected unanimously. Congratulations, and thank you. It's not easy to find people who will take these positions, and so we are indebted truly to the people that raise their hand, or maybe don't raise their hand, but everyone else backs away, so they're left standing. Thank you so much for taking these roles on. Any other new business? Okay, great. So I am going to adjourn the business meeting right now. So 8:11, the business meeting is adjourned. And I'm going to go through just a few more things here. and then we will we will set you free. So again, remember our mission is preserving island history. It's presenting that history to you, and it's engaging the community. Any ideas that any of you have on how we can do a better job on any of this, please let us know, either me or one of the appropriate directors. We depend on all of you to help us do the best job we can. Preserving, we preserve all the buildings, the farm. Also in our charter is to preserve other stuff on the island, like we have tried on many occasions to preserve Lyle's store. We've never been able to do that, but it's still on our list of things we would like to do. Presenting the history, that's really doing the displays. It's the stuff Rick has been working on. It's the tablets that we have for the displays in here, and it's signage. Any ideas any of you have for what should have a sign that doesn't, or what that sign should say, please let Rick know, because the signs are what make this worthwhile for visitors to come. And finally, engaging the community. We do a great job on this. I'm very proud of our events and how many participants we get from the island. We have a vision we put together when I started as president 7 years ago. And that vision is that we will be a vibrant organization dedicated to preserving the history of Anderson Island. We'll have a lot more members than we have now. That's our vision, right? You have to have stretch goals. And many of them under 50. That's a big stretch goal for us. Anything that you guys can help, any ideas you can come up with to help us reach that goal, we'd love to hear it. We have a great collection of artifacts. We actively engage the island community. This building serves as a visitor center for us, and we have an inviting and comprehensive set of displays, rotating displays from the collection. We really haven't achieved that yet, but again, this is a vision. This is where we're trying to go. I think we need your help to achieve this, so any ideas you have, please let us know. And meeting hall for many events. When we put this together in 2017, when this building was opened, we really didn't know what was going to happen here. But this has turned out to be an amazing success story. The Johnson Farm, well-maintained buildings, clearly signed, and a crew of docents. We're working on making each of these buildings a standalone museum. Some buildings are easy to do, some are hard to do, but that's our goal. And we've got really 2 more years to hit our 2025 vision. Okay, this is the exciting part. If we had someone here with a drum, we'd have a drum roll now. I'm glad I didn't ask for horns, huh? President's Award. Every year, this is a tradition that goes back, way back. At first, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, but I've had a really good time giving out an award each year to someone or a pair of people who have really helped the Historical Society. Last year, it was Jim, who has had a hand probably in erecting every structure that's been here, everything that's been done over the past 8 or 10 years. This year, it goes to an amazing set of people. Oh, here's our list from the last, going back to 2001. What a who's who of people on the island. This year, it's Leslie and Virginia. Stand up to take a bow. Normally I hand out an award, but the printer was down. These ladies are just amazing. I can't say enough about them. Since Kathy Bailey retired in 2020, they have co-run and co-managed the gift shop. And they've done an incredible job. They're there every weekend. Every weekend they do everything. If you were to ask a normal employee to do this, they'd be out the door sooner than you could ask them. But they're there every weekend. They do the ordering, they do all the stocking, they go to gift fairs, they pick up stuff everywhere, they do the cleaning and the prettying. They do all the sales every weekend. They have consigners that help, but virtually every weekend, one or both of them is there. They do the daily tallies, they do the bookkeeping, they manage the consigners, and they even help produce the phone book. It's just amazing how much these two ladies do. If I was managing the gift shop, it would be full of pliers and screwdrivers. Thankfully, it's not. It's full of amazing stuff that people love. And every year, the gift shop contributes about $10,000 to our general fund. It's behind the Salmon Bake and Silent Auction, it's the highest contributor to our income. So it's just incredible. Thank you so much. And let's all give them another round of applause for an amazing job. Thank you. All right, wow. So last slide here, announcements and coming events. As Dave mentioned, we're giving away Betsy Kammen's book, Island Memoir, because we don't like to admit this, but we actually have, 14 cases of these books. When they went out of print, we, the Historical Society, bought up all the remaining books. They were stored in Rick's basement for a long time. Then we moved them to the gift shop. Now we moved them to the annex. And now we have a great use for them, which is they're kind of a free gift or premium for membership. So when you join or when you renew, we're going to give you a free book, either in person or if you do it online, you get a little coupon. You just go over to the gift shop, and one of these lovely ladies will hand you a copy of the book. Please don't be shy about doing this because we have 1,400 books, and we can lose a whole bunch, and we will never know it. The gift shop's open Saturday and Sunday, noon to 4, and it's also open the Friday after Thanksgiving. And coming events, we have the Vivace Choir, which will be the first Saturday in December at 5 p.m. It's basically the same day they were here last year. They're wonderful. If you haven't come, I really recommend coming and listening to them. It's a wonderful way to spend an hour. And then we have our holiday open house, which is scheduled for December 3rd. We're still planning to have it here in this building next year. We may move, or this year, we may move it to the farmhouse, but the current plan is to do it in this building. And then coming in 2024, we have a potluck in January on native plants, and the Winter Art Show is Saturday and Sunday this year, right? Instead of Friday, Saturday, make a note of this. Instead of Friday, Saturday, it's Saturday night and then Sunday, February 17th and 18th. Okay, so I'm going to open this up for any questions or feedback from anyone. Anything? Wow, you all are so quiet. Okay, Leanne. The who what? Oh, these are all on our website. Okay. Oh, here, why don't you take this and announce it?
Okay, we just had our a fused art class, and we did it in the dark today in Coop 2 because there was no power. We sure did. Yes, and we have a alcohol ink class on November the 30th from 1 to 4 in Chicken Coop 2. That's on the website. It's sponsored by the Historical Society and Island Arts. We'll also have another fused glass art class sometime in December. But as of that, that's all we've got going. Yeah, we're making Christmas ornaments and tiles. That's what we'll do with alcohol ink.
Thank you. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, I'm going to stop before someone thinks of an embarrassing question. All right, thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see you again soon.